Good morning. Here's what you missed over the last 21 hours. You had 19 videos worth catching up on, covering everything from AI cybersecurity threats that have world banks spooked to Anthropic's surprise partnership with Elon Musk's SpaceX, plus major developments in Linux security, AI consciousness debates, and the ongoing collapse of mid-tier gaming studios. The big story that has everyone talking starts with Wies Roth, who was notably serious and concerned, a marked shift from his usual tech enthusiasm. The IMF has issued warnings about potential systemic market risks from AI-powered cyberattacks, specifically citing Anthropic's Claude Mythos and OpenAI's restricted GPT-5.5 as models that could enable thousands of non-experts to conduct elite-level hacking. The concern isn't theoretical anymore. The IMF article, Financial Stability Risks Mount as Artificial Intelligence Fuels Cyberattacks, explicitly states that Mythos could find and exploit vulnerabilities in every major operating system and web browser, even when used by non-experts. What makes this different from past hacking capabilities is what Roth calls skill compression. Previously, finding and exploiting vulnerabilities required teams of highly paid experts with extensive education and experience. Now these barriers are largely eliminated, and the attacks can work across language barriers. The scale is unprecedented too. Unlike human hackers who work sequentially, AI can run multiple parallel instances. Roth references Boris Cherny from Claude Code, typically running 5 tabs with agents and subagents simultaneously, and envisions scenarios where thousands of AI instances could attack different codebases simultaneously. The financial implications are staggering because banks aren't just websites with money. They're the plumbing for payments, payroll, mortgages, credit cards, ATMs, and trading systems. There were red alert meetings where Wall Street's major players were briefed on Mythos capabilities, including CEOs from JP Morgan Chase, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, Citigroup, Morgan Stanley, and Wells Fargo. This has become the financialization of AI risk, no longer theoretical but part of investment planning and economic modeling. The core danger isn't creating one super hacker, but democratizing elite hacking skills to thousands of people with minimal technical ability, similar to how ebook submissions to Amazon tripled after ChatGPT's release. Speaking of cybersecurity threats, Nate Jones from AI News and Strategy Daily was clearly energized about Mozilla's collaboration with Anthropic's Claude Mythos, which found 271 vulnerabilities in Firefox version 150. This is particularly significant because Firefox is one of the most security-hardened open-source codebases globally, with existing fuzzing, sandboxing, memory safety work, internal security teams, bug bounty programs, and years of paranoid engineering culture. A previous collaboration with Anthropic's Opus 4.6 found only 22 security-sensitive bugs in Firefox version 148, making the 271 vulnerabilities a dramatic increase. Jones argued this signals a potential shift where AI-generated code may become more trusted than human-written code due to superior adversarial testing capabilities. He distinguished between meaning and implementation. In code, security failures often live in the gap between what code means to humans versus what it actually permits. Mythos differs from simple pattern matching by participating in research loops, reading code, forming hypotheses, using tools, generating test cases, reproducing issues, refining findings, and explaining problems. The fundamental shift Jones described is when machines become better than humans at exhaustively searching code consequences. Human authorship stops being the trust anchor and becomes one more source of unverified risk. The security conversation shifts from AI makes things scarier to having almost a perfect weapon to fight back. The possibility of perfect code without security vulnerabilities through AI review and reliable fixing. Jones predicted ChatGPT 5.5 has similar security capabilities. Future ChatGPT models will catch up, Claude versions will gain Mythos-like capabilities, and open-source models will reach this point by Christmas 2026. Adding to the security concerns, Brian Lunjuk from the Lunjuk Journal was clearly alarmed about a new severe Linux root vulnerability called Dirty Frag that affects virtually all Linux distributions from the past 9 years. Unlike previous exploits, this one has no patches available because the security embargo was immediately broken, leaving all systems vulnerable with the exploit code publicly available on GitHub. The vulnerability was discovered by security researcher Hyunwoo Kim and can obtain root privileges on major Linux distributions by chaining two specific vulnerabilities: the XFR-MESB page cache write vulnerability and the NetRPC page cache write vulnerability. It's described as a deterministic logic bug that doesn't depend on timing windows, requires no race conditions, doesn't cause kernel panics when it fails, and has a very high success rate. The timeline was chaotic. Around April 30th, the vulnerability was discovered. On Thursday, May 7th, detailed information was submitted to the Linux distro's mailing list with a 5-day embargo period. Almost immediately that same day, an unrelated third party broke the embargo by publishing detailed information and the actual exploit code. This gives every random script kiddie on the internet access to working exploit code that's extraordinarily trivial to use, requiring just one nice little line in a terminal to gain root privileges. Lunjuk expects major Linux distributions to have patches by Friday, May 8th or Saturday, May 9th, and predicts more severe Linux exploits will be discovered in coming days and weeks as researchers increasingly use AI systems to find these issues. On a completely different note, the AI Daily Brief team was genuinely excited about what they called a big one. Elon Musk's SpaceX announced a surprise partnership with Anthropic, giving Claude full access to xAI's Colossus 1 data center with 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs to address Anthropic's compute crunch. This overshadowed Anthropic's Code with Claude Developer Day, where the focus was squarely on agents and applications rather than new model releases. Anthropic announced several major updates to their managed agents platform. First is Dreaming, a scheduled process that reviews agent sessions and memory stores, extracts patterns, and curates memories so agents improve over time. Second is Outcomes, allowing users to write rubrics for task success, with a separate grading agent scoring output and kicking tasks back if there are problems. Third is Multi-Agent Orchestration, where a lead agent breaks jobs into pieces and delegates to specialists with their own models, prompts, and tools. CEO Dario Amodei revealed stunning growth numbers. While they planned for 10x annual growth, Q1 2026 showed 80x annualized growth in revenue and usage. The SpaceX partnership makes business sense from both sides. Anthropic has been suffering from compute constraints all year, while xAI was struggling with model improvement stalled. No meaningful agentic harness, co-founders leaving, and high staff turnover. The host speculated this represents Elon's AI Play 3, from OpenAI funder to model builder to compute czar, realizing his path to AI influence was being like Jensen Huang rather than Sam Altman or Dario Amodei. The AI for Humans team was equally surprised by the Anthropic SpaceX partnership, noting the irony given Musk's previous tweet that Anthropic hates Western civilization. Kevin explained that multiple teams he works with had been voicing concerns about Claude's limitations, with daily token usage costs starting to exceed the cost of hiring engineers. The problem was compute constraints. Claude simply didn't have enough servers to meet demand. Users were hitting 5-hour rate limits, weekly limitations, and peak hour restrictions. The partnership involves leasing the original Colossus system, while SpaceX has moved their AI training to Colossus 2 and has inflated Anthropic's aftermarket valuation to $1.2 trillion, up from $800 billion just 3 months earlier. The main technical announcements centered on managed agents, with multi-agent orchestration allowing the smartest Opus model to delegate work to subagents. AI, dreaming, distilling insights from hundreds of sessions to improve future projects. And Outcomes, replacing step-by-step problem solving with goal definition, where the agent continues working relentlessly until it passes its own rubric. They also covered OpenAI developments, noting GPT 5.5 Instant is now available and rumors of a new voice mode powered by 5.5 with real-time bidirectional communication. Other notable developments included Spotify introducing AI agents that create personalized podcasts and Chrome secretly downloading a 4 GB AI model without user permission, which may violate EU law. Shifting to a more philosophical perspective, neuroscientist Anil Seth delivered a TED Talk arguing that AI consciousness is extremely unlikely because consciousness and intelligence are fundamentally different things. Seth was measured and authoritative, drawing on 3 decades of research experience and showing genuine concern about what he sees as dangerous misconceptions. His central argument rested on 3 pillars. First, he distinguished between consciousness and intelligence, arguing humans mistakenly bundle them together. Intelligence involves solving puzzles, assembling furniture, navigating social situations. Consciousness involves being and feeling, the experience of coffee's bitter taste, fire's warmth, or joy at seeing a loved one. Second, he attacked the foundational assumption that brains are essentially computers made of meat, describing the brain's biological complexity that escapes digital representation. Neurotransmitter chemicals coursing through circuits, electromagnetic fields sweeping the cortex, individual neurons functioning as sophisticated biological machines. He argued consciousness emerges from this inseparable union of function and biology. Third, he proposed that consciousness is intimately connected to life itself, living systems embedded in energy and matter flows, with molecular furnaces involving 1 billion biochemical reactions per cell per second. Seth warned about emerging movements advocating AI rights based on potential consciousness, arguing that if consciousness is illusory, granting rights means sacrificing our ability to control, regulate, or shut down AI systems unnecessarily. He concluded by calling conscious AI a new Promethean dream wrapped in silicon rapture, and advocated for viewing consciousness as fundamentally biological rather than computational. Moving to programming language politics, Prime was clearly frustrated with Twitter's surface-level reactions to the controversy around bun forking Zig to add faster compilation features using LLM-generated code. Zig rejected this due to their strict no AI policy, but Prime discovered this wasn't the real issue after Zig's official response. Bun had claimed their fork achieved over 4x faster debug builds through parallel semantic analysis and multiple code generation units. However, Zig clarified that parallel semantic analysis was already on their roadmap with a mostly working version developed, and Bun's implementation doesn't incorporate Zig's rewritten type resolution semantics, creating non-deterministic behavior where compilation randomly fails with nonsense errors 30% of the time. Most importantly, Zig revealed the real performance bottleneck isn't semantic analysis parallelization, but LLVM itself. Their experimental custom backend achieves similar 4x speedups plus incremental builds, reducing build times from 40 seconds to half a second, orders of magnitude faster than Bun's approach. Prime concluded this demonstrates good engineering, methodical problem-solving versus myopic quick fixes. He was particularly upset that Bun didn't call their fork Zag, calling it a crime against humanity, and expressed dislike for Anthropic, calling them adversarial to engineers with an internal circle jerk attitude where they claim AI is dangerous while positioning themselves as the only safe shepherds. On the topic of AI-assisted coding, Gary Tan from Y Combinator was genuinely excited about his productivity transformation, having returned to coding after a 13-year hiatus and shipped hundreds of thousands of lines of code in months while running Y Combinator full-time. His return started with a political project, Gary's List, advocating for California education reform to ensure middle school students in San Francisco could access algebra. What was essentially Posterous rebuilt for the third time, the first version took $4 million, $6 people, and 18 months. The second version took $100,000, $2 people, and 3 months. The third version took $200 in Claude code credits and 5 days. But Gary's List included full RAG capabilities that could crawl the internet, analyze every tweet he'd written, and produce detailed investigative journalism. This led to his token maxing philosophy, spending heavily on AI tokens to achieve completionist-level work. For roughly $5 in API calls, it could do work equivalent to a month of human research. He developed GStack, a comprehensive system with different AI personas: a CEO, designer, developer experience person, and engineer running projects through office hours review, CEO review, design review, developer review, engineering review, then codex review. He emphasized achieving 80–90% test coverage, noting that AI-generated code without proper testing is slop that fails when real users touch it. His thin harness, fat skills philosophy suggests using existing harnesses like Claude code for technical infrastructure, while investing heavily in sophisticated markdown-based skills, containing domain knowledge and workflows. When properly analyzed for logical lines of code, he was producing 400x more code than in 2013, noting professional software engineers typically produce only 30–50 lines of tested, production-ready code per day. Speaking of Claude code improvements, the DIY Smart Code presenter was clearly excited about the volume of updates, maintaining a rapid-fire technical delivery when covering 6 major Claude code releases with 28 new features and 78 bug fixes. The biggest patch focused on MCP stability improvements, including eliminating tool list reconnect floods, fixing a critical memory leak where SDDO servers could leak up to 10 gigabytes of RAM, and proper MCP OAuth proxy and mutual TLS support. 6 headline changes include a new worktree, Basaref setting for choosing whether new worktrees branch from origin or local head, a plugin URL flag enabling fetching plugin zip archives from any URL for the current session, and hooks now receiving the active effort level through the Claude effort environment variable. Authentication improvements included fixing a refresh token race condition that could wipe shared credentials when parallel sessions refreshed simultaneously, and another OAuth refresh race after system wake that was logging out every running session. The 1-hour prompt cache TTL that was being silently downgraded to 5 minutes is now properly honored. Terminal UI improvements included fixes for mouse wheel scrolling speed in Cursor and V's code versions 1.92110.4, resolution of full-screen mode going blank after laptop sleep-wake, and network compatibility fixes for proxy and mutual TLS settings being honored across the full MCP OAuth flow. Also from DIY Smart Code, the presenter was energetic about Hyperframes, a new tool that lets you create videos by writing HTML without React or build steps, designed to work with AI coding agents like Claude or Codex to generate MP4s from simple prompts. The setup requires Node.js 22 or higher and FFmpeg 7 or higher, with everything else coming through a single npx command. The workflow involves teaching the agent about hyperframes with npx skills, add hagencom/hyperframes, initializing projects with npx hyperframes init my video, which presents templates including blank, warm grain, Swiss grid, Vignelli, and YT graph options. The agent integration is seamless. After navigating to the project directory and running Claude, the hyperframes skills autoload so the agent understands the framework's patterns immediately. The preview workflow uses npx hyperframes preview to open a studio in the browser that auto-reloads whenever the agent saves changes. Before rendering, npx hyperframes check runs 3 processes lint for missing data attributes, validate for WCAG contrast checks, and inspect for layout overflow. Final rendering with npx hyperframes render boots headless Chromium uses a frame adapter to pause time, steps through frames deterministically, and has FFmpeg encode the final MP4 with a 5-second clip rendering in approximately 6 seconds. Moving to practical tech solutions, the switch and click presenter was enthusiastic about discovering Pi-hole's network-wide ad blocking capabilities, clearly frustrated with YouTube's 90-second ads and $16 month premium pricing. Pi-hole can run on any operating system using Docker, not just Raspberry Pi as the name suggests. The setup involves copying provided code into a file and running it through Docker, then configuring network-wide blocking by setting the Pi-hole machine's IP address as the default DNS server in router settings. Pi-hole functions as a personal DNS translator with a block list. When it encounters URLs from blocked IP addresses, it discards them before reaching devices. Testing showed mixed results. YouTube blocked ads but created long pauses, recipe websites improved but still allowed some Amazon ads, mobile apps like Atlas English had banner ads completely eliminated, and smart TV testing on Roku showed dramatic improvement with ads replaced by empty spaces. The default 90,000 blocked domains expanded to over 2.5 million after importing community-curated block lists. Integration with Tailscale allows Pi-hole access from anywhere by tunneling devices to your home network, though setup requires using Tailscale-assigned IP addresses rather than local network IPs. The presenter acknowledged Pi-hole's limitations against sophisticated ad servers like YouTube and Amazon, which host ads from their own domains, recommending combining Pi-hole with uBlock Origin on desktop and AdGuard on iPhone for comprehensive protection. On the automotive maintenance front, the Ioniq guy maintained a calm, instructional tone while demonstrating 12-volt battery replacement in Hyundai, Kia, or Genesis EVs, emphasizing that you don't need to disconnect the high-voltage system despite what other YouTube videos suggest. The process involves removing the negative terminal with a 10 socket, then the positive terminal after flipping up a small cover, and finally a 12 bolt that clamps the battery into its tray. He discussed battery technology, explaining that all affected vehicles originally came with sealed lead-acid batteries, but starting in 2026, Hyundai began using AGM, absorbent glass mat, batteries in the Ioniq 5. AGM technology is superior for EVs because it handles deeper discharges better and works well with constantly running subsystems. His replacement was an EverStart Platinum AGM battery costing $200 at Walmart. Installation reverses the removal steps, with emphasis on not cross-threading the 12-bolt and ensuring proper battery clamping. He demonstrated installing the Ansel BM200 Bluetooth battery monitor for about $25, with red and black leads going under the respective terminal nuts. The app displays battery voltage, state of charge, and temperature, though he recommends focusing on raw voltage readings, 12-13 volts with car off, 14.68 volts while charging. As an alternative, he mentioned Better Blue, a free iOS app displaying 12-volt battery voltage through the vehicle's systems. Shifting to gaming industry drama, Bellular News was genuinely angry about gaming publisher Nakin liquidating the beloved AA RPG studio Spiders after driving them into financial ruin. The presenter showed clear disdain for Nakin's business practices, calling them one of the most hated publishers in gaming, and characterizing their approach as predatory. Spiders, makers of Greedfall and known for 7 out of 10 narrative RPGs like the Technomancer and Steel Rising, were acquired by Bigben Interactive just before Greedfall's release. Bigben later merged with Nakin, pursuing a pandemic-era strategy to become the new Embracer Group by purchasing 11 studios between 2018 and 2022. France's biggest gaming union SDJV called the closure a premeditated and deliberate choice by Nakin's management, and explicitly called for boycotts of Nakin-published Spiders games, stating they'd rather players pirate the games than reward Nakin. The doom accelerated when Spiders launched Greedfall, The Dying World, a departure from their successful formula that moved from third-person to classic CRPG style and performed poorly. Spiders' staff had gone on strike before the game's launch over poor working conditions, which Nakin ignored. Nakin filed for insolvency on February 24th when majority shareholder Bigben Interactive couldn't raise funds, creating a cascade effect with 4 of Nakin's 16 development studios entering insolvency proceedings. The presenter contextualized this within the broader collapse of AA gaming mid-level budget games that were entry points for many gamers and allowed studios to be sustainable through wins and losses while building engines, teams, and institutional knowledge over time. In Australian electric vehicle news, the Electric Viking was measured but sympathetic when providing updates on the legal dispute between Xpeng and their former exclusive Australian distributor, True EV. Sam Evans spoke as both a journalist and Xpeng owner, showing genuine sympathy for True EV's financial situation due to personal friendships with former employees. The court case isn't about distribution rights themselves, but determining what settlement Xpeng owes True EV for breaking their exclusive arrangement, with True EV required to put up approximately $2 million as surety for October proceedings. True EV CEO Jason Clark's customer email detailed how they invested tens of millions of dollars, building a national retail and service network over 16 months, but changes by Xpeng materially impacted operations. Customer concerns included 3-6-month parts wait times, insurance company pullbacks, limited service centers, and general worries about being stranded. True EV's response revealed Xpeng China has taken over parts and after-sales operations, expecting proper establishment in Victoria within the next couple of months, with parts supply running smoothly thereafter. About 200 Xpeng G6 vehicles recently arrived, ending months-long stock shortages and becoming available the following week. Evans addressed premature insolvency reports, criticizing CarExpert, Drive, and other websites for sensational coverage. He then defended Chinese EV brands against legacy manufacturers, arguing companies selling 500,000 to 1 million EVs annually are safer investments than legacy manufacturers selling 95% internal combustion vehicles, specifically criticizing Mazda for not manufacturing their own EVs and noting Nissan's debt is rated double junk. Staying with electric vehicles, the electric Viking was enthusiastic but analytical when covering global EV sales hitting 2.8 million in Q1 2026. Clearly fired up about correcting media narratives around Tesla's supposed decline. Tesla's Model Y dominated March with 118,531 sales, nearly 90,000 units ahead of the second-place Model 3 at 53,000. With the best-selling non-Tesla being the Geely Xingyuan/EX2 with 34,000 deliveries, highlighting what he called a staggering gap between Tesla and competitors. Only 3 of the top 20 best-selling EVs come from legacy manufacturers, 2 Toyota models and 1 Kia, while the remaining 17 spots are split between Chinese brands and Tesla. For Q1 cumulative sales, Tesla's Model Y led with 242,000 deliveries, followed by Model 3 with 99,000, and the best-selling non-Tesla remained the Geely X2 with 93,000. Evans became notably skeptical discussing the 13th place Xiaomi SU7's deliveries, questioning how a car with supposedly 350,000 paid pre-orders could deliver only 13,560 units in March, suggesting the numbers should be at least 34,000 based on claimed pre-orders. He addressed why BYD doesn't dominate these charts despite media attention, explaining roughly 55% of BYD's sales are plug-in hybrids, which he excludes from pure EV rankings. Toyota's BZ4X secured 11th place globally with 39,000 deliveries, making Toyota the top legacy automaker worldwide, which Evans finds strange, given EVs represented less than 1% of Toyota's 11 million total vehicle sales last year. The electric Viking was clearly frustrated when sharing his personal insurance nightmare with Budget Direct, speaking as both a journalist and affected customer. His Xpeng G6 was hit in a hit-and-run while parked, and he submitted a claim, number 121,233,170, while his policy was active. Budget Direct requested photos and information, directed him to their approved repairer, and demanded he pay the $1,200 excess, receipt number 2,341,774, which he did after receiving 3 separate payment demands. About a week after paying, he received an aggressive phone call from Auto and General representing Budget Direct, telling him they had changed their mind and were refusing his claim despite already taking the excess payment. When he mentioned sharing his experience on YouTube, the caller became extremely angry and hung up. Nearly 2 months later, he still hasn't received his $1,200 excess refund. The presenter revealed this appears part of a pattern, with Budget Direct allegedly canceling hundreds of Australian EV owners' policies based on viewer feedback. He connected this to broader questions about whether Australian insurers are happy to take EV premiums, but avoid paying claims when repairs become inconvenient or expensive, noting EVs now represent 16% of Australian car sales. The personal context adds weight to his frustration. During this ordeal, his family has been dealing with approximately $20,000 in treatment costs for his wife's stage 4 terminal cancer, on top of hundreds of thousands over the past 3 years. He emphasized that insurance companies see customers as claim numbers, But people aren't just numbers, they're families following processes and paying for coverage. That's your complete catch-up for the last 21 hours. The big themes were cybersecurity risks moving from theoretical to financial reality, AI partnerships reshaping compute access, and the ongoing evolution of how we build and secure software in an AI-driven world. Stay safe out there, and we'll catch you next time.